I had a cool opportunity today to be on a radio show, and I haven't been interviewed very often. And it was kind of fun just to sit back and let somebody else steer for a little bit. I was invited to come on the Networking Diva Hour with Janiece Carlson. It's on Blog Talk Radio. And I was all set to do the whole 30 minutes of talk about whatever, but her listeners had so many great questions. So I just did a Q&A, and we had a very good conversation. I really enjoyed it. And if you want to check out her show, I will link to her show in the comments here on this MP3. So if you want to hear a little conversation about what's going on with small business and some of the questions her audience had, it's included here on this post. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello, Pat.
Well, hello, Janiece. How are you?
I am awesome today. And how are you and your family doing during these times?
We're doing great. We live right up against Lake Michigan in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're seeing this big glowing orb coming from the sky. There's like sunshine, I think it's called. It's like finally hit spring here. So we're loving life. It's wonderful.
Well, great. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's first and foremost important when I have a guest on these days. But, Pat, I am just excited about the topic that we chose when I read up on You Through eWomen of the importance of growing your business, especially during these times. Tell me, what you've done so many things, but what is your passion about helping small businesses? Because this is the perfect time for you to shine.
It's been really exciting the last couple of months. It's been a terrible situation for small business owners, but I've been able to lean into what I love about doing what I do, because running a small business can be lonely and hard, and you're asked to do things that you're not really good at. And sometimes you don't have the community around you to celebrate or get the support that you want for the things that you need to get done. So the last couple of months has given me an opportunity to fill in some of those cracks and set up the support systems that people need to continue to be successful and grow. So that's what I love doing. Is I love helping small business owners get to the next level in a collaborative way. And I call myself the idea coach because I help you look at things in a different perspective and help you take your core products and connect it with your customers from their point of view. And that's the background of being in the radio industry. When you're in the radio industry, you spend every minute of every day focused on the listener. So it becomes natural to put things in the customer's point of view. So bringing that experience to small business and then helping them feel just not quite so alone the last couple of months, it's been really rewarding.
Great. And I know you're probably helping a lot of small businesses out there. I was looking at some of your notes that you sent me on some of the angles for the topic for today, and I am personally interested because I've had a lot of people inquire when you had said, are you pursuing what you want to do or what you can do? Elaborate a little bit on that, because a lot of people today are saying, I don't know if I can go back to what I was doing, and really that wasn't what I always wanted to do, and so on. So give me some insight on that.
It's the secret, I think, about being a small business owner. And the reason is we get to choose whatever we want to do. You don't have to go be a marketing executive at Google. You don't have to be a shoe store owner. If you want to go run a hot dog cart in Manhattan, you can do it. You can literally pick what you want to do with your small business. And the assertion that you need to identify with what you really want to do with your talents and gifts, not what you can do to make money, I really believe because we get to choose whatever you want to do, you'll go the furthest if you're focusing on that one area of brilliance that you have. That one thing that makes you different than everybody else will help you not only feel personally fulfilled, I think it will allow you to create a product or a service that will help you reach your highest potential, charge the most money, and go as far as you can possibly go. So when I talk to small business owners, one of the first activities that I do with them is I take them from what do you sell to what do you want to sell? What are you the best at? What are you the best at the world at providing? And I tell people all the time, pick that thing and run for office. Be known as the person that does that thing. Because you mentioned in your comments earlier in the show, the digital leverage that's available right now is probably the most powerful thing in the universe, is that you can, thanks to the internet, put yourself out there on a very narrow plot of land and run for office on that narrow plot of land and be able to get to an entire worldwide marketplace if you're focused enough and aggressive enough. So the ideas of being a department store as a small business owner, I think, are long gone, or at least they can be long gone if you want to do what you love for a living. And I just think that's how you'll get the furthest in your career.
Wow. When I was talking earlier, I talked a lot about the continuance, the importance of continuing to market yourself, regardless of what type of home business you have. So I was hoping you can answer this question because it came in during that time, but I don't answer the questions because I'm not the expert. But it came in from Jim R. from Fountain, Colorado, and he stated, how can we successfully market ourselves when the economy is tanked, even if we have our community support? That was a good question, I thought.
Yeah, that's a great question. What I would say is that there are two sides to that equation. There's your side as the business owner and the customer side. From your side, what are the resources that you have available to do marketing? And the word marketing is very broad. So you're going to be able to do what you're able to do. But let's set the capabilities to the side for a second and address the bigger question that I think he's going after, which is the economy doesn't look that great right now, and we don't know where it's going. Okay. If you make every decision focused on the customer and their unique benefits of using your product, you're always going to have a market. If you go out and tell everyone what you do and you just advertise your features, not your benefits, good market, bad market, it doesn't matter. You're going to struggle. And I'll make a point of that. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You pull up a website for a local lawn care agency, and they talk about how they've been family owned forever, or they've got 41 trucks, or they've got high-tech equipment, or they are known in the industry and can take care of all your lawn care needs. If you're using the phrase anywhere, all your blank needs, you're doing it wrong. Compare that with the idea of focusing on your customer and selling what they're really buying. I don't care how you mow my lawn as long as I don't have to mow it. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care that you've got 41 years of experience that your family owned. It doesn't matter to me. The thing that I say all the time is that a lawn care service is not selling lawn care. They're selling short grass and long naps. So you talk about what you get when you buy it, not how you deliver the service. So I'm a believer that if your marketing is focused on the benefits and what they're really buying, like naps and rounds of golf and relaxation, you're going to cut through no matter how little or much marketing you do. So that's a little bit, at least in how I look at marketing. The other thing I'll add on that real quick is now's a terrific time to market. And you touched on this earlier in the show. It's a terrific time to market because a lot of your competitors aren't. If there ever was a time to take a deep breath and make the marketing buy or go out there and run for office, it's right now because you've got more clean air now than you've ever had.
Now, let me just gather this and see if I got this point from this question. So you're saying when you're marketing, you need to focus more on your customer wants than their needs by saying
Always,
what will benefit me personally, not, like I said, interested in the need of knowing you've been in business for 40 years or what you use. So it's basically
right.
touching them on what they might want.
The phrase that I use all the time is what's in it for me. WIIFM.
What's in it for me?
Everything in your marketing should be what's in it for me, and care way less about how you provide it, way more about what they get out of buying. And it's those emotional benefits, those emotional touch points. That's where someone's going to stop scrolling and go, ooh, I want that. So if you look at every activity, not just marketing, how you deliver your product, how you answer the phone, what your website looks like, everything from the customer's point of view of what's in it for me, your marketing is going to be way more powerful.
Right. Well, I want to take one more question before we do some more of your informational tips. And it's from Nina Y. from Ottawa, Canada. And she's asking, will we be able to expand and market nationally and internationally soon, or is it best to just sit back and wait?
I think it depends. It depends on what success looks like, Nina. Every decision in the business always comes from that question. So if you're doing this as a side hustle and you need to make 4 or 5 sales a month, then you might not need to market it internationally. But if you're trying to scale the business, you might need to market that large. And it also depends on what you're selling. If you're selling something that you could do fine locally and be happy with meeting your business goals, you might not need to market nationally or internationally. It's one of those strategic questions of just because you can doesn't mean you should. But the interesting language in that question is, can we? Of course we can. Absolutely we can. There are more platforms and more ways to get yourself out there than ever before. And people have not stopped buying things. People have not stopped looking for their problems to be solved. And one of my marketing partners here in Milwaukee put an interesting assertion on the table for me, which is if you're worried about marketing to the greater audience because of the pandemic, then maybe now is the time to go to cost per click advertising and use that as your sole or one of your main distribution models right now. Cost per click through Google advertising is telling you that they're looking for your product. So if you're really concerned about it and you think I'm full of hot air, that's fine. You can still get out in the market with cost per click because that is intentional based advertising. And you'll know they're looking for your product when they click.
Very interesting. Great answer. Now, talk to me a little bit more about your comment on, are you growing by yourself or are you investing in support to grow? What did you mean by that?
Yeah, there's a phrase that's really blown my head apart lately, and that is delegate to accelerate. I am just all about delegate to accelerate right now. It's one of those phrases that you hear people who stand on stages and go on LinkedIn and stare into a camera and try and sound smart. And they say, and you're like, what do you mean delegate to accelerate? And what they're saying is hire support staff and then you can focus on what you're really good at. And the knee-jerk reaction, and I had it too, up until like a month ago. So like there's no holier than thou thing going on. I was very skeptical about this phrase. That's why I'm being so clear about it. Delegate to accelerate. And I thought, okay, yeah, if I had more people, I could do more of the strategic things that I'm really good at, the things that only I can deliver. But I can't afford that. I can't afford a virtual assistant. I can't afford to outsource things. And I have to tell you, I finally scraped together a couple $100, right? Not a lot, just a little bit, just to get it started. And I hired a VA. I will never not have a virtual assistant. It's the greatest thing. It is probably the biggest unfair advantage in running a small business right now. If you don't have a virtual assistant, you need to get one. And I'll tell you why. I went through this exercise of writing down the top 10 things that I spend my time on, all the stuff that I have to do to be the idea coach. And then I drew a line underneath all the things that only I could do. And it turned out to be exactly 80-20. There were 2 parts of my business that only I could provide. The other 8 things that sucked up my time, I could delegate. Since I've done that, my business has taken off. Taken off. I cannot stress. And if you're looking for a good VA, I've got 2 awesome VAs. They'll work with anyone in the world, anywhere in the world. Happy to share. They're brilliant. And what happens is I have more time to do the things like we're doing today. I have the time to talk to you and meet some of your listeners. So it's really an unfair advantage for small business owners. That's kind of what I was going at. And we can talk about communities and we can talk about networking and partnerships too. But the thing I'm really hot on right now is delegate to accelerate and fight that feeling of, oh, I can't afford it. You can't afford not to. I'm telling you, as someone that's seen the light, it's the greatest thing out there.
And I was always told what you think about, you bring about. So by constantly stating, I can't afford, that's what's going to happen. So I'm glad you brought that to fruition. I want to take another quick question on what you just talked about, and it's from Lenny T. from Appleton, Wisconsin. Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yes, Lenny.
And he's asking you a question, but he stated something first. He says, I have set a working direction for the year 2020 back in December and established clear-cut objectives. Also, first, iteration plan to reach them should be in place. This now seems like an ideal time to rethink the whole thing, doesn't it? After all, one of the effects of internet time is that plans are subject to change just as soon as, or perhaps even before, they are written. So his question is, how far in the distance is your planning horizon?
Lenny, that's a great question, and on Wisconsin, that's awesome. I totally believe what you're saying, that my wife and I, we do a big annual plan. We have this beautiful Google spreadsheet with every possible contingency baked into it, but we didn't have this one baked into it. So now we wake up to a whole new reality. And what I'm telling my clients is, from now to the end of the year, a 6-month plan is what we should worry about. And if you're really good at planning, and particularly if you enjoy it, you could really do a Q3 and a Q4 2 90-day plans. One of the folks that I really respect, Michael Rampola, who is a consultant here in Milwaukee, he's going one step further. Make your 6-month plan and make 3 versions of it, high, medium, and low. That may be a little too much planning if you're not into planning. So the time horizon, I would say, is a 6-month plan. And then there are a couple of caveats around that. The first thing I would say is that we all have to take a deep breath. Everybody take a deep breath. We're going to take a deep breath. Okay. We have to be okay with the idea that we're going to have a down year. Our revenue this year is probably going to be lower than it was in 2019, and there's nothing we can do about it. So what I would recommend to Lenny and anyone is to grab a cup of coffee this weekend, whenever is your premium time, and rewrite your revenue plans and rewrite what success looks like. And here's why. If you don't have written down in front of you every day, this month I'm going to make this happen, you're always going to feel behind, and you'll never have anything to celebrate. It's always never good enough if you don't know what success looks like. So, great question, Lenny. 6-month time horizon. Chunk it out into month increments and know what you're trying to get done this month, so that way you can have something to celebrate and something to hold yourself accountable for.
I love that answer. That's a very good answer, especially in these times. And I thank you, Lenny, for bringing that up. So I want to do one more quick question before we talk about your last option. And that is from Steve M. from Los Angeles, California. I really feel for this question. He says, we always ask the question to ourselves or others, where do you see your business 3 to 5 years from now? Now we have to ask 3 to 5 months from now during these times. How can we get back to this? Where do we even start?
Yeah, there are 2 phases, Steve. Phase 1 is survival. I've been telling people around here that I'm working with is, if you can survive, you're going to thrive. If we can get through the next 6 months, 2021 is going to be bananas. So you just got to get through this part. But I'll go back to something I said earlier. Ask yourself, are you building what you want to do with your life? Are you supporting and building around your personal area of brilliance? If you're supporting your personal area of brilliance, the one thing people would say, oh yeah, Steve, he's the guy for the thing. If you're building on that, 3 to 5 years from now, you're going to be more successful than you can possibly imagine. If you're compromising and just selling stuff to pay the bills, 3 to 5 years won't be any different than right now. So my challenge back to you and anyone that might be wondering what does the success look like and the future look like, you need to have a reality check of, boy, I'd like to be known as the idea coach, but I'm sitting here doing general marketing for everybody. Well, you're not going to become the idea coach until you put a line in the sand and say, from this point forward, this is what I'm going to do with my life. And it might take a while to build it, but you will thank yourself later if you start running for office on your area of brilliance. I truly believe.
Great, great. Yeah, because I know that's hitting a lot of people right now, and especially the planners out there, and this just interrupted everything. So I like that phase one, especially survival is important. So tell us a little bit about understand your customer and only talk to them.
Absolutely. I've got a couple of different things to share, particularly about your customer. We touched on it a little bit earlier in knowing what your customer wants out of your business, understanding those emotional benefits. Putting it through the lens of COVID for a minute, there are a couple of customer-facing things I want to address. The first thing is, it's tough to do a national radio show like this because, and international, hello Ottawa, you're awesome, because every area of the country is different. So let's just pretend for a second that we're getting ready to reopen wherever you are. Take the guidelines seriously. And the reason why wearing a mask, for example, is important, independent of the health reasons, it's a sign of respect that you're protecting your customers, that you respect them. And it might make you feel uncomfortable, and I'm not a mask shamer, if you will, but it's the same reason why you put a sneeze guard on the buffet or you wear gloves when you touch their food. It's a sign of respect. So you have to consider the people that are coming into your establishment or partnering with you, that you're going above and beyond to make them feel safe. The second thing is, I think it's really, really important that you market to your people right now by demonstrating how you do business with whatever you do for a living. So I'm working with a gym client here in Milwaukee. We shot a video that shows you how to walk through the door, how to check in, how to work out, how they're cleaning the place, so there are no surprises. People are going to be uptight enough getting out and re-engaging in the world. If they're going to trust their health and time with you, you have to show them how you are behaving right now so they feel more comfortable. The other thing is, two other things, really. If you want to know what your customers are talking about, call them. Don't email them. Don't read your social media comments. Have the courage to pick up the phone and call 3 or 4 of your best customers. Don't fly blind. Because if you have a conversation like Janiece and I are having right now, 20 minutes, if that, how's your family? How are you doing? Are you going to come back to the gym? What are some of the things you're concerned about? What would you do if you were us? They'll tell you. They will give you the answers to the test. But it takes some courage to let your guard down and pretending that you know it all to actually do that. And one more thing about your customers. There's a positive that comes out of the disruption. And the positive could be some of the pivots that you had to go through to keep the lights on may have uncovered some things that your customers really like. So if all of a sudden you're offering delivery where you didn't before, or online ordering where you didn't, or curbside pickup, or name it, whatever it was, they may really think that's cool. And just because you didn't do it before doesn't mean you have to stop now. It was a forced adaptation. You may have found a new way to be that gets you closer to your customers than it did before. So there are some blessings in disguise when it comes to understanding who your customer is coming through all this. And I think you have to listen to what they have to say to really understand what they want from you right now.
I have to say something about that when you just mentioned, call your customers, and you talked about the gym, for instance. I got a call from, I do the program at the local YMCA here, and I have for years, and they called me, and they are closed still, and they wanted to know, if I needed any exercise tips. They wanted to know if I needed any rides to the grocery store or needed to go shopping. I mean, they were willing to do other things because we can't do what we were doing before right now. And I said to myself, you know what? To me, that's a person or a business that I will definitely stay with because they showed interest in me other than get to the gym when it opens type thing. And I thought it just touched my heart, the fact that they called, the fact that they checked on me and asked me if I needed anything. So I agree 100% with all that you just said. So thank you for that. But we have about 5 minutes left in the show, Pat, and I want to take one last question from the email. It's from Mel J. from Pensacola, Florida. And he says, my fear of failure is causing me to turn down opportunities that could help my business grow. I know we should all be smart about our business for it to grow. Sometimes we have to take risks. How can we get past our fear of failure so we don't hold our own businesses back?
Great question, Mel. And what I would say is you don't have a fear of failure. You're embracing failure. If you're not taking the opportunities that are in front of you, you're not avoiding the fear, you're confirming the fear. You're saying, oh, I failed because I'm not going to take the opportunity. Whenever it's time for me to make a decision in the business or a client is making a decision in their business, you got to go through the decision tree. Okay, if I do the thing, what's the worst thing that could happen? What is the worst thing that could happen? Well, you got to give them a refund? Okay, that's the worst thing. And if you give service, whatever you do, Mel, and I wish I knew what you did, whatever you do for a living, if you're giving it with the right intentions and giving it 100% and outlining when they buy, here's what the deliverables are, and you give them the deliverables, 9 times out of 10, you're going to do great at it. But you can't say, I have a fear of failure, so I'm not going to act. Because what you're really saying is, I am a failure, and I'm not acting. So if you don't want to be in business, don't be in business. But don't blame it on having a fear of failure if you're going to embrace failure before you start. So that's what I would tell a client. And Mel, no disrespect, I wish you all the luck in the world, but I would challenge you to redefine your mindset so that way you can embrace the opportunity, not embrace the failure.
Great answer. Great answer. So we have about 3 minutes left, Pat. I want you to give out some information about yourself and how people can connect, because my email is all filled up and we can't get to all those questions. So if you give your information out, maybe they can contact you directly.
That would be great. And first of all, let me just say, this is a great opportunity. I really enjoyed the chance to talk today. So thank you, and thank you for listening today. So I call myself the Idea Coach. I help people with marketing, and I go through a coaching process with people where I help them with their accountability, with understanding their customer and creating marketing campaigns to light that up. But where I'm going with the business is I'm creating community. If you're on Facebook, and hopefully we can put this in the chat or something, the Brand Crafted group on Facebook is a free group where we are doing in-person networking in Wisconsin. So I think it was Lenny in Wisconsin, join that group. But that's a place for in-person networking. But for the worldwide audience, I've started a new small business owners community called the Idea Collective. And that information is on my website. And the Idea Collective addresses the thing that I mentioned earlier. Running a small business can be lonely and hard. So what I did was create a community where everyone's coming through the door with engagement in mind. This isn't a place to sell your stuff. This isn't a place to network. This is a place to have conversations like this one, where I could say, gee, Mel, I really could use some help with this thing. Could you help me? And Mel would say, yeah, I'm an expert at that. And then we help one another, because there are a lot of places to network. There are 0 places that I've found where you can learn from one another and get support. So the place is called the Idea Collective. It launches June 1. We're doing a pre-sale of it right now. And it's a place for driven entrepreneurs to get an almost unfair advantage as we try and master the art of small business. And you can learn more on my website, patmillerideacoach.com. And if you're interested and want to hear me babble more, I do a show for the eWomen Network called Lift As We Climb, and that is at liftasweclimbpodcast.com. And that show just started as well, and a little bit of everything out there. But patmillerideacoach.com, that's the home base.
Great. Well, I really appreciate this, Pat, and I think I'm going to invite you back in a few months for a follow-up on everything we talked about today. Hopefully the world will look a little different then, and you could see if some of these people that we couldn't answer might get their questions answered, but they can go to your website, and I'm definitely going to post this on my website for your information that you've given today. So thank you so much for being on the show today, and I wish you health, and I will be talking to you soon. Have a great Memorial weekend.
You too. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, that was Pat Miller, my guest for today, and I'll put more information on my website about some of the wonderful shows he does and the information. I'm sorry we couldn't get to all and I can never take the calls. We can't do calls anymore, folks, so doing the email is great. It scrolls through the show, so thank you. Next week is Michelle Gargiardo. She's an empowerment coach, and she's going to talk about your mindset. And remember what I said about Memorial Day. Please just celebrate with your family or virtually, but be safe. If you go out, wear a mask. But thank you all for listening today. This is your host, Janiece Carlson. Have a great day.